If you want to succeed as a business person in the digital age, you're going to have to learn something about technology. But the options for learning might feel overwhelming, and corporate training programs often don't have the right approach. And that's why I made this video. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make your own digital leader curriculum. So let's get started. I saw a report about what's on the minds of the top global CEOs as we enter 2024. And that report was by McKinsey, the really fancy consultancy. And it says that digital and AI are going to be at the top of CEO's priority this year. I'm like, yes, well, obviously. But what's less obvious is how leaders' attitude toward digital transformation has changed over the years. And I'm just going to read from the report here. As the digital era enters middle age, most companies have at least started a digital and AI transformation, but few are getting the results that they want. That's usually because they haven't done the fundamental organizational rewiring needed to extract maximum value from the hard work of digitizing the enterprise. And now that's interesting. If you've listened to the Tech for Non-Techies podcast, that's my podcast on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, it's really good. Anyway, so you might have heard me talk about why digital transformation goes wrong so often. And in fact, according to another piece of McKinsey research, around 70% of digital transformation efforts fail to meet their goals. And this is really expensive failure. So I think a digital transformation effort is about $20 to $25 million on average per year. So that's a big failure if it's not working out. So there are several reasons for why basically it doesn't work out with digital transformation. But in my experience, it really comes down to two main factors. So let's talk about factor one first. So factor one is that the digital transformation effort is focused on upgrading the technology rather than focused on the customer, focused on serving the customer. So that means it's basically a top-down approach. So maybe even suggested by McKinsey. And usually it's all about cost cutting and efficiency. And don't get me wrong, I love efficiency. I run a really lean business and I like it. But to have a successful business that makes money, you need to have satisfied customers. And what do you need to have satisfied customers? Well, you need to talk to them. You need to understand what's on their mind. You need to understand them. You need to anticipate their needs. And that's usually something that designers do really well. So this is why I always say that for a successful digital transformation effort, you want to have not just the top-down approach focused on technology, but also a bottom-up approach, which is the design thinking way. And there are lots of episodes on that on the Tech for Non-Techies podcast. Anyway, so one of the biggest reasons digital transformations fail is that they're not focused on the customer, but focused on whatever the corporate priority is. And to run a successful enterprise, you need a mix of both your corporate priority and a user focus. And the second reason why digital transformations fail to meet their goals so frequently is that the organization has not prepared its people properly. And this is why I said right at the beginning of this video that a lot of corporate training programs actually get these upskilling efforts really, really wrong. And I want you to know about this because if you are working in a really large corporate and they do have training budgets and maybe they're sending you to trainings and you're still feeling kind of lost, I can explain why this happened. So I'm just going to quote from that McKinsey CEO survey again, so then we can really delve into it. So it says, few organizations are getting the results that they want. That's usually because they haven't done the fundamental organizational rewiring needed to extract maximum value from the hard work of digitizing the enterprise. Whew, that's a mouthful. Okay, so that basically means that they're not getting their training right in order for the digital transformation to succeed. And please do not think that I'm going to tell you that you need to go and learn a particular tool. This is not what we're doing here. Because we all need to do it, but come on, nobody likes doing it. It's quite boring, right? So listen to this. You can have the most insightful strategy. You can have the best technology, and you can even have the most amazing customer insight. So, you could have the design thinking approach and the top-down approach, as all of this is amazing, and then your digital transformation efforts might still fail because of this upskilling thing. And don't think that this disaster only applies to traditional companies going through digital transformation, because this also happens in big tech companies, and believe it or not, the likes of Google also go through digital transformation, and they also have issues upskilling their teams. And the reason why I know this is because their employees often come to Tech for Non-Techies as students, and they take, say, the Tech for Business Leaders course or Tech for Non-Technical Founders course. There are actually quite a few big tech employees who've taken those courses, because basically they feel like they need to know what's going on, but they feel kind of embarrassed to ask. And the fact that this is happening within these big tech companies tells me that they're not getting the training that they want. So if this is you, if you're walking around in a company going through digital transformation, you're walking around in a big tech company and all these words are bandaged around, and you're like, well, I feel like I need to know them, but also I'm not a developer, like maybe I'm a lawyer and I don't know these words, like I don't really know what an algorithm does, but nobody's explained it to you, and you feel embarrassed that you don't know. First of all, don't feel embarrassed, because nobody comes out of the womb knowing what an algorithm is or knowing what a large language model is. It's fine. And also, if they haven't trained you, I think they basically haven't really done their job properly. It's usually not because they're bad people, but they don't really understand where problems lie. But you're watching this video, so you're going to be fine. Okay, so you need to basically take matters into your own hands. Take your own digital curriculum into your own hands. And this requires sophisticated thinking and discernment. And this requires for you to think for yourself. Slow down and think for yourself. And I'm saying this to you. I'm recording this at the beginning of 2024. And this is when we just have massive hype around AI. And generally, when I see that there's hype around a technology, so right now it's AI, a year ago it was the metaverse, before it was crypto, blockchain. So, it's like a fashion trend. There's always a new hype. And so whenever there's a new hype, I see that corporates start teaching people courses on how to basically use that particular technology or on what it is. But they don't necessarily give people the context of why that technology matters or how they're going to use it. So I'll give you an example. A corporate training program might give you the opportunity to learn Python. That's a coding language. And this could be a really great opportunity, or it could be a really useless thing that's also really painful for you. And if you don't know what Python is and who uses it and why, basically you don't have this digital context. You don't understand where it fits in. And in my experience, corporates and business schools and training centers, they like to offer courses that go deep into a skill set without really giving you the broader context, because giving you a broader context is basically harder to do, and it's also harder to sell. But teaching you, say, Python without really explaining who uses it and why is it's like teaching you how to make a brilliant surgical stitch, but not giving you any other knowledge of medicine or explaining why that stitch needed to happen in the first place. I mean, yes, a surgeon is going to know how to make a surgical stitch, but that's not how they started their medical training, right? They started their medical training with a holistic understanding of the human body. And you also need a holistic understanding of how digital technology is made, how an idea, so for example, how an idea goes to a scaled app before you go deeper into a specific subject area. And as I said, it is easier to teach and to sell a course in a specific skill. This is why people say, like learning ChatGPT prompts, and this tendency goes back to the Industrial Revolution. And this is why I kind of want you to be careful and to think for yourself. Because learning a very specific skill set without understanding what it does, like learning ChatGPT prompts without understanding what a large language model is, it's like the digital age equivalent of saying, well, our factory's got a new machine, and so to be successful in our factory, you need to learn how to use this machine. And my role here is not to teach you how to be the best user of a particular machine. Because the best user of a machine, they are never going to get to the top of the pyramid. They are not in the C-suite. They are not the CEO, and they are not the partner leading the account. Okay, they're not the strategic advisor that the CEO calls on. So if you want to be the best machine operator, this channel is not for you. If you want to be the best strategic advisor, and if you see yourself at Davos, or if you see yourself in the boardroom, then this channel is for you. So, as companies invest more and more in digital transformation, because they're going to continue, upskilling their teams is also going to be top of the agenda. And so this is why you are going to be bombarded with training programs, and I want you to approach your learning intelligently. So I've got 3 pieces of advice on how you can create your digital curriculum this year. So number 1, understand how traditional business differs from a digital first business. So what are the key concepts that are different, and what are the key concepts that are the same? So for example, the way digital businesses measure success is going to be different to kind of traditional measures of success. So if you don't understand what I'm talking about, if you don't know what that means, I've made a podcast episode on product metrics versus business metrics. I'll give you a quick example here. So for example, Instagram is going to measure time in app. That's a product metric. So they're really interested in how much time has an average user spent in their app. That's a product metric. A product metric is to do with how people use something. A business metric is about money. So how much money has Instagram made per average user? And so yes, a business metric is connected to a product metric, but you don't really know how they're connected. And you can have a very, very successful product that makes no money. So look at Wikipedia, right? We spend lots of time in Wikipedia when we're researching something. So they'll have very high product metrics, but Wikipedia makes no money. Like when you go on Wikipedia, they ask you for donations. Whereas, okay, Instagram is also going to have very high time in app, but they make loads of money. So don't confuse product metrics and business metrics. They're different things. So this is what I mean when I say learn to differentiate between traditional business and digital business. Point 2 is learn how to identify the problems that need to be solved and understand why they need to be solved. So this is design thinking, and it is a really super useful skill set for the digital age. So technologies change, hype comes and goes, but the skill of understanding what problem to solve and why you need to solve it, that is something that Catherine the Great was doing, that's something that Genghis Khan was doing, and that's something that Tim Cook and Satya Nadella are doing today. Remember, technology is always a tool to solve a problem. Like, you don't use Uber because you want to use an app. You use Uber because you want to get somewhere and it's raining outside, like it frequently is in London. So basically, learn to identify the problem, and then the technology, the solution becomes clear. And number 3, my 3rd tip for how to build your own curriculum as a digital leader. Number 3 is get a holistic view on how a tech product goes from idea to scale. So do you know, so for example, if an app like Uber, in order for it to come to existence, do you know who you would need to work with first? So for example, most people would think that, if a founder has an idea for a tech business, they need to start working with a developer. Well, actually, that's not true a lot of the time. A lot of the time, they need to start working with a designer first. Did you know that? Do you know what designers do in technology? Because it's not about pretty logos. UX design, UI design, that's a whole discipline. You need to understand what that is. And you will understand that once you get this holistic overview of how a product, like an app, like a site, like an algorithm, what it needs to do to go from a concept to a scaled thing. Once you have this holistic overview of how an idea becomes a product and then becomes a scaled product, then you'll understand, okay, who does what in a tech team? When do developers get involved? When do data scientists get involved? And this holistic overview, then that will allow you to understand, okay, where do you need to dive into next? Because you might discover a passion, you might discover an interest that you didn't know about because you didn't have this holistic overview. So, to sum up, digital transformation is going to be the top of CEOs' minds in 2024, and I would suspect probably in 2025 and going forward for a while. And this means that education programs around digital transformation, technology and AI, they are going to keep growing. And of course, I want you to educate yourselves. I mean, I run an education company and I teach at business schools. What I'm saying to you is be discerning and be clever about your own digital curriculum. Do not get swept up in other people's agendas, because most of other people's agendas are not going to be as thought through as what we discussed here. Think for yourself, design your own curriculum that fits your needs and the needs of your organization. So I hope you found this video useful. I hope you found those 3 steps that I described useful. If you did, then please like this video, leave me a comment and subscribe to get more lessons. Thank you very much for watching and have a fabulous day.